Today, we're diving into a love story that didn't unfold on a movie set, but in a quiet, candid TV interview that absolutely captivated the world.
So picture this. Actor Hyun is doing what's supposed to be a totally routine TV interview. The studio lights are bright, the cameras are rolling, and then he says this, almost in a whisper. It started with something small, but it changed everything. And just like that, with that one sentence, the entire mood shifted. Everyone knew this was not going to be an ordinary interview.
You know, he was there on the popular show You Quiz on the Block to promote his new film, Harbin. It was all standard stuff, but then the host leans in and asks him about his life after getting married. And for just a second, Hyun pauses. You can see him hesitate. Then this small, shy smile appears, and he basically signals that things are about to get very, very personal.
What happened next? Well, it took everyone by surprise. The host, the live audience, and for sure the millions of people watching at home.
I mean, the audience in that studio went completely silent. It was like even the air stopped moving. The camera zooms in and it catches this tiny reflection on the wedding ring on his finger. His whole expression just softens, and his eyes kind of drift off for a moment like he's a million miles away. This wasn't the face of a global superstar anymore. This was the face of a man who was about to completely change how we all saw his love story.
But, okay, to really understand the massive weight of his words, we need to rewind a bit. We have to go back to the very beginning, long before anyone even dreamed they'd become Korea's most beloved couple.
See, their relationship wasn't some dramatic love-at-first-sight thing you see in the movies. It was this bond that just grew slowly over time. They first met way back in 2018, filming The Negotiation. And back then, they were just colleagues, two absolute pros who had a ton of respect for each other's work. But something about that project, it planted a seed that would end up blossoming years later.
And then came Crash Landing on You. That's when everything started to get blurry. They were spending these long hours rehearsing scenes, yeah, but they were also sharing quiet meals between takes and just talking about everything but the script. Hyun later said, "Even after filming ended, we kept in touch. I guess that's when things started to change." And for Sonia Jin, it was a really slow burn. She admitted she never liked the idea of on-set romance, but with him, she started to see his honesty, his calm nature, and the way he genuinely listened. Little by little, that professional respect started turning into something much, much deeper.
Which brings us right back to that interview. The host has asked the question, the room is dead silent, and Hyun he's ready to talk.
The question was so simple, right? Just what's life like after marriage? But his answer was anything but simple. He wasn't about to talk about how they fell in love. He was about to talk about what that love and becoming a father had turned him into.
He kind of looks down for a second, and his voice gets softer than you've ever heard it, and he says this. That one sentence just hit different. This was a rare, totally unscripted peek into the private life of a man who had protected his family so fiercely, and believe me, it was just the start.
And then he shares this deeply personal, vulnerable story. He explains that right before he came to the studio, his son had a little fever, and he just couldn't stop thinking about him. He said something like, "You think you understand what love is until you hold your child for the first time. Then you realize it's something else entirely." You could see his eyes glistening as he admitted he used to worry so much about being a good father, and that he's still learning every single day.
The public reaction was just immediate and overwhelming. Right after his confession, this behind-the-scenes photo of Hyun holding his son just exploded online. It was never meant to be public, but it went viral in minutes. Fans flooded social media saying things like, "This is the real Hyun." Hashtags like Benjin family and Real Love Exists were trending worldwide. He didn't sound like a superstar protecting his image. He sounded like a man who was just so in love with his family, and both proud and terrified all at the same time.
As the interview started to wrap up, he looked straight into the camera and shared one last thought. And with that quiet statement, his confession went from being a public revelation to a private promise. It was a message for his son, and a window into the heart of a man who had finally found what really, truly mattered.
But of course, a story like this has two equally important sides. The morning after that interview, Hyunbin's words were everywhere. Every news outlet was talking about it. But the whole world was waiting to hear from his partner, Son Ye-jin, and her reaction, just as powerful. A few days later, she's at a film event, and a fan asks her about her husband's emotional interview. She just smiles the soft smile and says, "I was proud. He spoke from his heart." But here's what fans didn't know at the time. She was the one who encouraged him to be so open. Sources later revealed she had told him, "Be honest, they'll love you for it." And boy, was she right.
But the story wasn't over. A week later, at a private event, the conversation once again turned to love. She said marriage isn't perfect, but being with him makes her feel safe. Then, with her voice trembling just a little bit, she delivered this powerful line, which just spread like wildfire online. It was the ultimate confirmation of everything he had just shared.
This contrast between their public image and their private reality, it really reveals the life they've deliberately chosen to build together. Sources say their day-to-day has become much quieter. Hyun started turning down late-night events just to be home. Son Ye-jin put projects on pause to raise their son. For two people who live their lives under flashing cameras, silence has become their new luxury.
So here's the crucial point. Why did this incredibly personal story resonate with millions of people all around the world? Why did this one interview become so much more than just another piece of celebrity news?
Their story became a symbol of something a lot of people are craving, a love that feels authentic and honest, not something performed for the cameras. Comments poured in from literally every country, with fans writing things like, "They're the couple we all wish to become." It stopped being about their celebrity status. It became about two people finding peace with each other.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a story about the quiet, steady, everyday work of building a life together. They gave us all this powerful reminder that true love doesn't always need big public gestures. Sometimes its greatest strength is found in that foundation of safety, vulnerability, and just simple, straightforward honesty.
So this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In an age where so much of what we see is carefully filtered and curated for everyone else, maybe the most powerful, most inspiring story isn't the one we see on screen. Maybe it's the one that's lived authentically, quietly, and honestly behind it.